Hello and welcome to one and all. My name is Sheryl Gracias. I am a freelance learning and development specialist. I would like to share a few things with each one of you with respect to the topic resume. Some of the do's and don'ts of a resume is what I would like to share from my perspective. Before we get started, just a small introduction about myself. So, I've been a trainer for 11 and a half years, and I've got a total work experience of 13 years with the telecom industry. I look at the experience as a learning, and I'd like to share some important learnings through this topic. This is an important topic for each one of you who are looking at coming back to a job or those who are starting a new job. So let's get started with a resume and what are the do's. So I've listed a couple of points and I'd like to share those points with you. So the first point I would say is keep it honest and keep it simple. It's very important that your resume is something which is more presentable, simple, and also has factual information. So keep everything that your resume is honest and based on a very simple format. Second is the objective that you write as your statement. So, your objective statement would give us an insight onto your skills that you have and how is it relevant to the job. The statement could also be a summary statement. If you have experience, then you would add your best accomplishment, and that could be highlighted in your summary statement. The third I would say would be your skills. So it's very important to look at your skills, think about what are your skills, and mention those as skills. Technical skills or let's say vocabulary skills, something which is more explicit and unique to you. The next I would say is if you are an experienced person, mention your recent experience on the top. So let that come first. The recent experience just gets the recruiter to understand that yes, this is currently what you're doing. So work from current to the past experiences. In case of a newcomer or a fresher resume, yes, you may not have experience, but if you have some projects that are done or any internship with a company through colleges, then you can put that as your experience as well. The next, I would say, is the fourth point where you would like to break it down into points or bullet points to be precise. Avoid using long sentences. The bullet points is just a highlight so people can just see the point and identify what is your resume all about. Another point would be if you are attached to any social organization or an NGO or you volunteer for some organization like Grow a Plant or some organization, you could probably put it down as an ad volunteer. So yes, that volunteer work will be a little extra boost to your resume as well. Looking at professional organizations and professional social media platforms, LinkedIn is also a platform which you could put on in terms of your LinkedIn profile or your profiles for Facebook. But yes, certain profiles like the LinkedIn profiles, which is a more experience and a more organized platform for companies. So I think that's also more impactful. So yes, add your profile, which is the LinkedIn profile or the other profiles, which will actually give an insight into the company as to what you've been doing. So you can't write everything in a resume, but yes, that additional profile will take them through what you have been doing and your expertise. That's for the do's of a resume. Also important, I would say, is the don'ts of a resume. So yes, we have a lot of don'ts that are there. With the changing times, we also have to change the outlook that we are looking at in terms of a resume. So yes, make your resume short. Don't make it too long. I would say 2 to 3 pages would be a good resume. If you're going really beyond, honestly, I don't feel, I think a recruiter would have that much of time to read it. So stick to 2 or 3 pages. So don't get too lengthy. The next I would say is yes, Add relevant experience. Why relevant experience? Because what is needed for that job profile, that is what they are looking at. What you have actually done in terms of work, or let's say a project, add those relevant experiences. Don't add too much of detail, but add the relevant experience. So that's very important. Avoid any of the minor details or minor experiences that you have gone through, because those are not something that you would want to put in a resume, but you would like to speak those things in an interview. So save some detailed experiences which are relevant to be discussed with the interviewer rather than putting it on a resume. Also, it's important to keep the details very simple. So when we start the resume, we put the name, we put our LinkedIn profile, email, contact number. All that is your basic format. Choose a format which is simple and it gives you a highlight as to what is the flow of the resume. Once that flow is there, sometimes we find resumes which have father's name or family details or address. Honestly, I'm sure they're not going to talk to your father about you, or they're going to come to visit you, but yes, they would love to know more about you. So avoid giving too much of family details or address details. Yes, those are some things that they probably would also kind of want to ask you, where do you stay, maybe the location is too far from your house, or they would want to know something about your family, which I'm sure can be asked during an interview rather than putting it on a resume. So avoid too much of family details. When you're applying for a job, I know we're very enthusiastic, but avoid applying for all the jobs. So, yes, first thing first, understand what you're good at, okay, what you want to do, what you're passionate, and what you really feel that you're going to do well. So, apply for jobs, be a little more selective. Don't apply for everything. Let's try. So, we just go on. But let's apply for jobs that are more relevant to you. So, read the job description very carefully. It's important that the description matches what you want to do and also what you can do. So that's where I feel is, do not apply for all jobs, but apply for jobs based on the job description. For example, if you are a person who is not comfortable with shifts, so you don't want to work in shifts, so definitely a job profile which says flexible in shifts is probably not something that you're looking at. So then avoid that. It may be a good opportunity, but are you comfortable with it? Do you want to do it? So think about applying for jobs which are more specific to what you can do and what you wish to do rather than apply for all the jobs. The next one is, most resumes that I have seen are filled with a lot of jargon. Okay, so there's a lot of high words, big words that we would see across, high vocabulary, jargons like team player and team worker. Yes, they are important, but too much of jargon also is a little unhealthy for the resume. So let's keep it to a little simple language, okay? And I'm sure that a recruiter is looking at communicating to you via telephone or a face-to-face communication, where they would like to hear that from you rather than just see it. To be very honest, some resumes look like a exact cut copy paste, which means you have copied it from somewhere and you have pasted it, or you've copied your friend's resume because that's wow. But when you look at the resume and you see so much of jargon and so much of high vocabulary, you say, do I understand this resume? Is this who I am? So think about it when you're using the kind of vocabulary. Another aspect would be is the vocabulary that you are selecting. Um, does the opposite person understand it? So keep it simple, like we said, the first point of resume do's. Once we say keep it simple, the other person would definitely understand your resume if the language is simple. But if you're going to use high vocabulary or a jargon, the recruiter may find it difficult to understand your resume. On the other hand, yes, the number of pages is extremely important. I'm sure some people with a lot of experience have the ability to write everything that they have learned, and everything that they have experienced, but nobody has the time to do so. So in that case, yes, it's very important for you to put pen down things that are relevant and keep it to a minimum 2 to 3 pages. That's it. For a fresher, I think if there's no experience, a one-page resume is absolutely fine. Okay. Yes, but once you gain experience, you would like to write a little bit on the kind of projects or the kind of work that you have done. So that's where your experience and the resume gets a little bigger, from 1 page to a 2 page or max 3 page. Okay, so that's where limit avoid long resumes or avoid lengthy resumes. Keep it short is what I would like to suggest. Before we send the resume, most of the times we have a common resume that um, we make when we say submitting it to any portal. What I would like to do is, I would like to suggest that when you're looking at the job description and then you're sending your resume, there are some things that you'd like to edit or like to change. Not giving incorrect information, but you like to change. So when you're editing that resume, before you send it or before you attach it, make sure you proofread the email. So what do I mean by proofread? It's just a way of checking. So check. Okay, have I put in the company name? Have I put in the number of years of when did I start? When did I, did I put in what designation? So make sure that you check everything in that resume before you upload it and before you hit the send button to send that resume. Proofreading is very important. So avoid just clicking on the resume, downloading it, or uploading it and just sending it across. Proofread your email, your resume, because the resume, when once it's proofread, it's very important that somebody looking at your resume has an idea that you have gone through it, you know your resume. When you actually get to the next level of an interview, yes, the interviewer or the recruiter will ask you questions based on your resume. So yes, if there's an edit done or you have proofread your resume before sending it, it's absolutely important for you to be aware of what are the changes that you have made so that you can answer the recruiter efficiently. Okay. I would like to go on to some of the questions as well, which we have received from different people. Okay, but before that, I'd also like to add one more thing. Okay, so there is a difference when we look at a resume and we look at a CV. Okay, so a CV mostly is something which is a lot of detail. Okay, most countries like US and Canada, okay, they have the format of a CV. Why? Because they want a lot of detailed information related to what the job is, what the profile is, what you have done. So it's a lot of detailed information in a CV. However, in a resume, it is just 2 pages, so it's absolutely short. A resume is more focusing on the kind of work experience that you have, focusing on the skills that you have. That's what it's actually focusing on. It's not looking at so much of detail. Those detailed discussions are done during the interview phase. So I think it's important to understand the difference between a resume and a CV. Okay? Uh, of late, I've also noticed there are a lot of companies who are looking at a cover letter. Now, a cover letter is a one-page letter. Okay, so it can't go more than that. Okay, a cover letter actually has a particular format. So you can definitely find a lot of formats that are across. Okay, and see which format is most suitable to you. Keep that format ready, because these companies, before they look at your detailed resume, they are looking at a cover format. Now, in a cover format, you're actually addressing that person and you're actually writing a one-page cover letter to that person. That has to have certain explicit details in it. Yes, definitely your name, contact number. So they look at the cover letter before looking at the resume. If your cover letter is impressive, then yes, the next thing they go on to is looking at your resume. So yes, there are some companies which request you to send a cover letter. So my tip to you would be, Yes, keep your resume ready with the right format, with the right template, and the right details. Also, keep the cover letter ready. So, these are two things that I would suggest that you create before you actually start applying for jobs so that you know what it is. Okay. The aspect of color in a resume is nice, but I'm sure we don't want it colorful. So please don't use all the colors that you have. Okay. Some colors that you can use in a resume to kind of just add a little color, but it shouldn't be like a bright yellow or a bright orange all over. Right. We don't want it flashy. So make sure that the colors that you select to highlight your resume are some things that suit you, as well as they're not too flashy. Okay, we need it to be a little creative maybe at times, but not too loud. Yes, so that's what I would like to say. Just to sum up is, yes, your resume needs to be simple. It needs to have factual information about you. It needs to have a lot of skills that you possess which are relevant to the company. Okay, it also has to have a LinkedIn profile. Okay, if you have any social work or NGO links or work that is associated, it could be added as well. Avoid too much of color, avoid lengthy resumes, avoid giving too much of family detail, yes, and avoid jargons in your resume. So that's what I would like to sum up um, with my sharing to each one of you on resume do's and don'ts. Now we'll move on to the next phase, which is the questions. So I have a list of questions, so I'll just read it out. So we have Arya Jain, who has written to us. So I'd like to read her question and then I'll go ahead and answer it. So, hi, I am a final year engineering student. How should I build up my resume to get better opportunities as a fresher? All right. Thank you, Arya, for your question. First of all, as a fresher, I think it's very important to focus on the skills or technologies that you have learned. So, since you mentioned engineering student, I would like to say the kind of softwares that you have learned. So, whether it's Java or MySQL or Python, or what are the technologies that you have learned and you're really good at. I think that's where your resume would look, really impressive to highlight that skill area, and that's where it could I think come out different than the rest. So that's important. Yes, if you have internship part of your engineering college, any internship, you could add that. Okay, if there's I'm sure in the final year you would have projects. So if you have a project experience, you can mention that project experience, any app development or any creation of a software, something that is done in terms of a project. I think that would also be relevant. So you can mention a little detail on that. So that's where you could fill in your resume, since there would not be much of experience. But the internship and I think the projects that you have done in your final year would add a lot of value to your resume as a fresher. Another thing is, as a fresher, since you have no experience, some kind of qualities that we would like, that a company would like to see. Yes, in terms of teamwork, coordination, good communication, few things I think that could also be added. Besides your technical skills, it's absolutely important for you to have good soft skill and behavioral skills. So a company today looks at technical and soft skills, both in terms of a fresher. So make sure you could write some of the soft skills that you have. As an engineering student, you do experience those kind of soft skills when you're in a project because you're part of a team. How have you worked? How have you interacted? How have you coordinated? How have you achieved things? So there's a lot more that you can actually add into that experience in terms of project management. So yes, technical skills, internship, project management, I think those would be a lot more value to your resume as a fresher. So, Arya, I hope I've answered your question. Next, we'll go on to Dviti. So, Dviti says, hi, I have taken a break from my career, and during this break, I haven't accomplished any skills regarding my field. Will my resume impact in a negative way, and how to neglect this impression? Okay. First of all, thank you, Ruti, for your question. Okay. Ruti, I honestly feel that each one of us are in a constant phase of learning. So, yes, when we learn certain skills during a period like a lockdown period or a phase where no productive work is happening, but when we learn few skills, it only enhances you as a person. Yes, so I feel it's important to invest some amount of time to take up a course and learn something. Okay, learning knowledge, skills, I think these are really important. So, yes, invest a little bit of time, maybe not the whole day, but 2 to 3 hours in a day to learn certain skills, and that's going to help you. I it wouldn't say it would be in a negative impact, but as a recruiter, I think they will question you. They will want to find out how and what you have done during that period of break. Okay, so what have you been doing in that period? So they would want to know how have you utilized that time. Okay, just to share a little input. So when I took a break in my career, okay, I started a home bakery business within my own complex first, and that's how I kind of utilized my time. So yes, because my child was too small, I could not join a company. I started doing the home bakery business, and I think that is what kept me for 2 to 3 years till my child grew up. So I think there is something that you need to start doing parallelly. It may not be relevant to your career or profile, but have you invested that time effectively? That's what the recruiter wants to know. Okay, and today with a lot of courses in different portals, whether it's free or paid or discounted, you still have a lot of opportunity to learn. So I would say learning never stops. Invest a little bit of time to learn, and that's when your resume will have a lot more weightage. It won't come across negative, but yes, you have to be ready to answer what you did in that period of break. So we move on to the next question, which is Ruhi. Ruhi says, "Hi, should what should be the ideal size of the resume, and what are some ways to prioritize content on my resume?" Okay, so ideal size, I would say 2 pages. Okay, max to three, but keep it to two if you can. How do you prioritize your content? I think the flow of the resume. If you look at all the templates, it has a typical flow. So you start with your name, you have the contact number, the LinkedIn profile. Okay, you have those kind of details either in the center or you have it at the side, depends on the template. Then you have your summary statement or your objective, okay, your career objective. Then you have your technical skills and so your experience, okay, your experience, your previous experience, and then you have so that logical flow. I think adds a lot of value to the resume, and it seems more organized, or how you would put it as prioritized, right? So when we say priority, we have the first things that they want to see is yes, your name, your profile, your objective or your statement that you've put, as well as your technical skills or the skills that they are looking at as a recruiter, and then your experience. So I think prioritizing those key things, which is the focus for a recruiter, should be what you're looking at in terms of drafting your resume. So prioritize those things first. Next question we move on to is from Reema Agarwal. Hi, is presentation in a resume more important than its content? Honestly speaking, it's important to have a nice or a simple presentation. So the look, yes, definitely should be good, I would say, because that's the first impression, right? So when somebody opens your resume, if they've got it via email or by the job portal, the first look is what they see. So that presentation look, I feel, is important. Yes, content is also important because they're not just going to look at the resume and say yes, fine. They are going to look at details. So content is also going to be reviewed. So I would say maybe if I'm looking at presentation and content, I would say yes, it would be around 30% of your presentation, and maybe 70% of the content, right? They are definitely going to read your resume. So yes, you can even put it as a 50-50, but don't focus too much on the presentation that you lose out on the content that you need to write in your resume. Okay, so I think you would need to weigh both as well. Next, we have Priyanka Thakur. So her question is, hi, I'm a web designer. Should I show my creativity in building my resume or make it simple? All right. So if you look at different templates, Priyanka, there are creative job templates. So I think those creative job templates already have that creativity in it. So if you can choose something like that, then I think it kind of already adds value to your resume. However, if you want to keep it simple because that's who you are, then you can always keep it simple. Maybe if you have done few projects on web designing, okay, you could mention those in the resume itself, and keep it ready in terms of if they ask you to show that, so you have those things ready to show it in terms of what you have done. So yes, we can't put everything, but yeah, a little creativity for your kind of profile. A creative profile would have some creativity, a little bit different than a regular resume. So yes, you can have it a little more creative. Next question is from Shruti. So hi, I have secured approximately 40 certificates during the lockdown through MOOC. Should I include all of these certificate details in my resume? Wow, kudos, Shruti, to 40 certificates. Wow, that's really amazing. It's definitely going to take a lot of space on your resume if you're going to put 40. What I would suggest is yes, put down the heading of the course. So, for example, is it the technical course that you have completed? Okay, so you can put down the main course heading, okay, and maybe just mention some, and also, or you could just put the course heading and have a separate Word document attached where you've listed down those 40 as well. So yes, it's not part of your resume, but you're making it a separate document. A Word document would be ideal. So put it down as a separate Word document. And then that would also be a help for the person who wants to read what are their additional certification. Maybe you can put it down as 40 certifications done through MOOC. You can put it down that way. And so when you're putting down a number, definitely people will want to know what are those 40 that you have done. So then you can attach it as a separate. But I wouldn't suggest you putting all of those in one resume. It'll make your resume extremely long, right? So that's what my view is. And the next question we'll move on to is Mansi. Mansi's question is, hi, can resume sometimes create an impression of being an overqualified candidate in front of recruiters? Okay, I love the word overqualified. Okay, Mansi, what I would think is when you are applying for a job, so they will always mention a particular experience that they are looking at. So it's 1 to 2 years or 5 to 8 years, okay, or 10 to 15 years or 15 years plus. So depending on that particular qualification that they have given in terms of experience, number of years, I think that's what you need to look at first. Okay. Second thing is maybe there are certain qualifications where you know a lot more than what is required. Yeah. So yes, I wouldn't say those uh, skills that you are overqualified or you know more. I don't think that means overqualified. But at times your experience that you have and everything that you know could be a little extra. Okay. What they are looking at is somebody at a little lower level, at a medium level. So it again goes back to the job description. What is the job description telling you? If you read the job description and you say this is for a experience profile of 15 years and I don't have that, then obviously you're not qualified for it. Or vice versa, you have 12 years experience, work experience, and they are asking for maybe 3 to 4 experience. So yeah, you are definitely overqualified for the job. Yes, yes. So that's another thing. Um, I think that's where overqualified jobs is what I would think you're putting it as. Otherwise, I think other qualifications in terms of education or other skill things, I don't think that should mean that you're overqualified for the job. Okay. Next, we have Renu's question. Hi, what are some of the hard don'ts for my resume? So yeah, resume. I think I've already addressed that. So I'll quickly do it. Don't write any irrelevant experience. Okay. Avoid too much of family details. Do not apply for every job that you see on the portal. Don't use high vocabulary or jargon. Don't make your resume too lengthy, and don't forget to check or proofread your resume before you hit the send button. Okay, so that's what I would just sum it up. Shivani's question is: as an HR professional, I came across a lot of resumes. Is there is there a more effective way to sort well fabricated resume? All right. Okay. So I have not been, I've never worked as an HR professional, to be very honest. But yeah, I do kind of have a lot of friends and I do find out a lot about different profiles. So there is an application tracking system, which is a software that is used by many HR companies today, where the resumes get actually sorted and filtered once they are into that application tracking system. So I think that's where a software helps you as an HR to filter out the candidates which are who are relevant and those who are not relevant as per the profile. With AI taking a lot of advantage and a lot of changes that we see today, yes, there are a lot of AI applications which are coming into the HR department, which can eliminate error. It can also help you segregate those 500 resumes that you reach to probably maybe 50 and then maybe lesser than that. So yes, with AI coming as a technology, definitely there's a lot more softwares that you could use to help. So I was reading about one software company, I think it's in the US, it's called Ideal, and they have it automated completely. There was a very interesting fact that I'd like to share with you. So the AI technology is devised in such a way that three criterias actually get disregarded as part of it. So one is gender, one is age, and one is name. So the AI software is actually designed in a way that it brings about diversity into those job profiles. So they kind of select it across different cultures. So I think those are things which will help you as an HR to get the shortlisting done, and I think that's what I feel could help you. So any software like the ATS or any software that can help you analyze resumes and get it scaled down to the best candidates, I think that would help you as well. So that's my suggestion to you, Shivani. We have the last question for the day, which is Ashwini. So Ashwini says, I have graduated this year and will be applying to many companies. What are the things which I should avoid while building my resume? Okay, so yes, Ashwini, you are going to join not only a company but a different corporate environment. So yes, you need to start thinking along those lines. So I would say yes, build your resume in such a way that it creates an impact to the company, okay, before they actually see you or interact with you. So I think you need to invest a little bit of time with your resume. Don't just make it with the first format that you see. See a lot more formats. See things which are really nice. Again, since you said you've graduated, depending on the stream that you've graduated, depending on the industry that you select and where you want to work, I think that's also something that is relevant. Um, yes, what you would avoid is some of the don'ts that I have already shared. So maybe you could just think about those don'ts and keep that in mind. Besides just the resume, I would like to suggest, Ashwini, an extra tip to you is that read about the company. Okay, before when you're applying, yes, you can apply, but read about the company. So go into their website. Okay, go into the details of their company. Check the partners. Check how long. When is the company started. So it's important for you to get a little brief on the company. Apart from the company knowing you, I think there's a lot more that you need to know about the company. So since you're just going to finish your education and start working, I think you need to also start reading, understanding how each company, what is the company about, what is what who's the who's heading the company, when did the company start. That extra information about the company, I think, will give you a boost, it will give you an idea, and it will give you a little more understanding of what you're getting into and what you'd like to do, how your skill, in terms of whatever you're educated with, how does your education apply to that company, and how can you use your skill to the best and fullest to that company as well. So I think those are things that you need to look at. Yes, since it's a fresher resume, again, let's keep it to just one page, not more than that. But yeah, keep it simple, and probably keep in the do's as well when you are writing your resume. So that will ensure that you have the best of both. Yes, so with that, I would just like to wrap up, and I would like to say thank you to Jobs for her for giving me this opportunity to share my knowledge on resume and some of the do's and don'ts. I definitely would like to see and interact with a lot more people in terms of soft skills or behavioral skills. So feel free to reach out to me if you have anything you'd like to learn, or you'd like to know about how do you understand a corporate environment. So I'd be happy to share that as well. Thank you, Job Skills, for giving me the chance to have this session and share my thoughts on resume. Thank you, each one of you, and have a nice day.